Go ahead and go live and see this audio is going. So good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody. It's good to see all of you. Now we call this meeting to order.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. All right, everybody. Extra, okay. And also noting, yes, we have extra cards in the room. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to have you all back here. Let's please call this meeting to order. First steps first, we need to approve the agenda. I do want to also remind everybody, one, we do have Dee who's going to be joining us from online. She's not feeling too well, but she's joining here nonetheless. And also, as many of you are aware, our Vice President of Academic Affairs is on personal leave. So our Director of IR, Dr. Keller Maganow, has been asked to step in as our interim Vice President of Academic Affairs. So thank you so much. And also note, if you may want to refresh your browser as well, her report has actually been uploaded into Diligent, so you can have the latest one available. Otherwise, folks, can we have a motion to please approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Laura, and also Rosabeth for a nice third. So all in favor? Any opposed? Agenda approved. And now we will open up the floor for public comment. Is there anybody in the room who would like to offer public comments? We recognize Laura, and then we'll go with Keller, and then we'll go with Cornelia. And then afterwards, we'll go with Betsy. So, Laura, please.
I just want to make a statement. This actually has nothing to do really with what's on our agenda, but I have for 8 years been here at City College and pretty much 100% have taught in the BC building. So I go out on campus, but I haven't taught in any other buildings. And this semester, because of what's happening with cosmetology, I'm not. And I'm teaching in IDC and I'm teaching humanities building. And
Wow.
Yeah. And I have to say, I really believe, and I don't know who else to put this on, but I know that my dean works very hard to take care of his buildings that he has faculty teaching in. And I know that because he spent the Christmas break improving the BC Forum, not because anybody asked him to, not because anybody told him to, because he saw that it needed it. And I think this is my plea to the other deans. It is time for you to step up. You need to take care of the buildings where your faculty teach. The humanities building is the coolest retro building that has not been washed since I was born in 1976.
Well, that's not true. It's been remodeled recently. So it was cleaned in, it was washed in.
What year?
No, it wasn't that long.
No?
When did you redo the humanities building?
We get her point.
No.
Everyone, let's.
Is
Sorry.
we need to, I don't know, I mean, yes, as a faculty member, I feel that I probably could ask and request. But at the same time, if our deans who do have the voice, who do have the power, facilities can only do so much. So if the deans are putting in the work orders of, hey, this room needs to be cleaned, this carpet needs to be cleaned, this should be painted, and they take inventory of their spaces where their faculty and are located, and everyone does their job, we can all do this together because our houses don't get maintained on their own by themselves. We work together as a family at our homes. This is our home more than we spend sometimes at our own home. And if we all work together and our deans work together and we put in these facility orders and we could really improve it. And I know there's money through the bond, but I just have to say, like, that humanities building is a cool building. It is really neat and very retro. And I just wish it had a little TLC and somebody took care of it. And that's just where I felt seeing this now that I'm out on campus. I thought I want to bring this because I was really not privy to this up to now. I just only taught in BC, and seeing it firsthand, I wanted to make a comment.
Can I respond?
No.
I'm on.
You can make your own public comment.
Okay, my public comment. I'm on PNR. We met with Chris Hamburger yesterday. He has a plan to deep clean the campus this summer. He wants to consolidate as many classes as he can into one building so that they can do this. So
That's
On the heels of Danielle's comments, Chris Renbarger shared with Keller and me a statement that he wanted to share in public comments, so I think
Yes.
it's tied in directly.
Yes, and I'd like to make my own public comment before making this comment, simply because of what's in the room, that at my second Dean's Council with the deans, we addressed the concern about the state of the campus and classrooms in particular.
Yeah.
And so I went to Chris and said, you know, can we put our heads together on this? So this public comment from Chris is in relation to what he presented at PNR yesterday. So on behalf of Chris Renbarger, members of the Academic Senate, I'm writing today to introduce the idea of scheduling summer in-person instructional room use in a way that will facilitate SBCC's ability to deep clean classrooms, labs, and other instructional or instructional support spaces. Department chairs are developing the summer class schedule over the next few weeks. It would be beneficial for a coordinated effort to be made between the scheduling office, I'm already working on it, deans, department chairs, and facilities to identify consolidated room use to facilitate cleaning. I spoke this week with the members of the Planning and Resources who seemed enthusiastic about this idea, apparently. One member suggested identifying a single floor of a building, cleaning other floors, then rotating use and cleaning. I thought that was a clever idea as well. I am open to alternate solution and ideas. The less spread out the room use is, the more we can concentrate custodial staffing to accomplish this shared goal. I'm asking for your support with this approach. Please feel free to send me and Acting VP Magna your questions and ideas. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good timing for all three of your teams. Barbara.
I'll add a quick follow-up comment. I think it's a great idea. I support it 100,000%. IDC has needed this for 30 years. The last 2 summers, I have put in a facilities request for a bunch of us have to get the carpets cleaned, to get the desks cleaned, to get the bathrooms cleaned. Nobody's in this building during the summer except one English hybrid class. Nothing has happened in either summer. But what happens is the facilities request is checked off as resolved, even though nothing happens. So I'm all in favor of deep clean, and then I'm all in favor of continued maintenance, because then we wouldn't need a deep clean.
Right. Air conditioning.
Bravo for the deep clean.
Bravo for Chris Renbarger, and also to the members of PNR for heading this up. Deep clean, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears here. I'm just going to check in with those of you who are on Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to offer a public comment at this time? Public comment. Let's circle back to Cornelia, please.
Yeah, really short, just want to give you a second heads up of 2 FA events. One coming up on Friday, February 6th at 10:30 until right before our in-service. And we will make sure that there is a little bit of food items there and coffee for sure, and refreshments. A faculty plenary, we will talk about specifically negotiation items, part-time faculty seniority rights update, for sure anything what we know by then about COLA negotiations, and also about the face-to-face goal and BP710 that we have been talking about here and will talk about today as well. So I will pay close attention on where the Senate goes. But anyway, please come, please encourage your divisions to come in. It's an in-person event. Please respond RSVP to the calendar invite so that we know. I have 2 rooms of different sizes. So I will, and the FA will make that decision once we know how many. The other item is February 27th. We will bring back our very popular retirement workshop with FAC and CalSTRS. That event will again be mainly face-to-face, but there will be a Zoom-in option, but the Zoom-in option will be only listening. So because otherwise with question and answers getting too complicated, we will have joint sessions, and we will also have breakout rooms for part-time faculty and full-time faculty, so that we can ask the respective think tank specific questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cornelia. Looking forward to the FE planner. Yes, please.
I just wanted to bring up, the ice being on the east side this morning, early morning, 6:50. And protesters were there, and they were, one person that I know that lives there said that she was woken up to loudspeakers saying, "Stay in your house, ICE is here, stay inside, stay inside." And then in the meantime, outside, I'm not sure, I think there were 4 ICE officers. And apparently a guy ran off and they chased him, but also the observers were there, and somebody was pepper sprayed and somebody was pushed. And so just the awareness that how this impacts our community and so many of our students. As they're maybe, afraid to come to class, they might choose not to come to class, but to really just stand with our students and support them as they try to go to school in a, anxiety provoking environment.
Now, for those of you who have not yet gotten a chance to see the board meeting from January 22nd, public comment was offered again to request much more guidance and protection for the students. The theme for that discussion is about adopting the DREAM resolution, which is attached to the agenda. We will take a look at this later. But also to assure the community, we do define what are considered public versus non-public spaces. That gives us at least some safety. So also there will be more discussion around this as well. 805 Undocu Funds is being tapped for a professional development opportunity that's slated to be at the BC Forum. I'll have some more details later on. Is there any other public comment in the room or any follow-ups? And last call on Zoom. Does anyone have any comment to share? All right, everyone. Then, if we can please draw your attention now that we've gone through public comment, approval of the minutes. Although I would say, for the life of me, I cannot find the December 3 minutes in my shared folder, so I will try to track those down as soon as possible and post them retroactively for all of you. Otherwise, everyone, if we can move on to communications. I'm up first with our Senate President's report. So, folks, last semester we had approved sabbatical leaves for Jen Maupin, Andrea Kolonen, and Joshua Escobar, and those were moved forward as well to the board as of the January 22 meeting. They have been approved and they've been notified as well. So congratulations to our faculty. We hope that they enjoy their sabbatical. Also, in case you haven't gotten a chance to make your way over to the administration building, in case you didn't know, the radiography lab had its opening as well. You might want to ask Israel Fonseca for a tour of the new facilities. Having worked at Saddleback College, I can say that their nursing facilities for their program are actually pretty impressive. This was actually very impressive. And also there's the possibility of expanding the program as well, envisioning pathways from dual enrollment all the way up to transfer, maybe even a path to professionals for a master's degree. So if you're looking at some of the pictures from that event, there is also going to be another event specifically, I believe, for the foundation in February as well. This has been a long time in the making. You should have seen where they were in the days leading up to the premiere. It was all boxes, folks, but the new facilities and what new imaging technology they have is very. So please pass along your thanks also to Bruce Polda for seeing these changes through as well. And hopefully, if we can get a new hire for radiography, they can continue Bruce's work. Bruce works very hard as a technologist to be able to make sure that our partnerships with Cottage Hospital and donors throughout the community keep this program strong. Also, since we're talking about the board, please, I encourage you to see the meeting, especially for the Senate and the FA's reports as well. In only so many words, we were asked once again to be able to provide reports on what we are doing to close equity gaps. Now, on that note, earlier in the fall, it was Jamie Campbell, and it was Pam Gunther who tried to offer a very efficient presentation to try to add context to some of the equity gap data, particularly with regard to course success, and to make the argument, just as Stephanie has argued often, cannot talk about equity gaps absent any discussion about where we fit along the rest of the state. These are system-wide problems that we are seeing, historical problems. We all mutually agree there is institutionalized racism that we are trying to amend. That is a generational problem. Solutions themselves are going to be generational. That's also where I think it may be helpful to invite the board once again to come to a study session. It wasn't clear what the scope of the equity gap data that they wanted us to look at, whether that was divisional, department, by course, by instructor. And so it would be good to get some parameters around that, or to be able to narrow this. I understand that we tried to pull together a conversation about EV 1705. It is worth it to revisit that as well. I also think if there's to be further presentations to the board about equity gaps, we may want to contextualize this in terms of the faculty hire positions that we are trying to go for, and to be able to say some of these programs are either above the state average, or they have taken measures to be able to try to close those equity gaps as well. We have some major success stories, particularly with radiography, for example. So those are some of the next steps that I want when it comes to communicating with the board. I also met with Trustee Dave Morris as well, not only to talk about AI, but also to talk about the equity gaps. And he thinks it's a good idea if members of the board were actually to meet us in a study session. So I will see if I can update all of you on where we are going next. Keller, I decided to include this as part of my Senate President's report. This is really state data that we actually don't have. It's on trying to see whether or not for our LGBTQ plus students and also our LGBTQ plus faculty, whether or not what the conditions for success are for people on both sides of the campus. And for myself personally, it's something that we do try to tackle when I teach the psychology of human sexuality. It's hard to be able to acquire data. That's one of the reasons why we don't have it at the state level. I think it's actually worthwhile to be able to explore this. I do have some questions about the methodology, mostly because I want to see if I can incorporate some of that into my own teaching. But I think that if you hadn't gotten a chance to see Dr. Maginot's announcement, that you should take a look at that. I will be responding myself as well. And I think that it's worthwhile data to collect and to say faculty conditions are student conditions. And we also need to know where our students are as well. Yes.
Was this written by us, or was this a
No,
generic?
This is an external researcher.
Oh, that wrote, okay.
But Keller forwarded it.
Got it. Yeah, I got it,
Okay.
I just didn't know if the questions were originally written by somebody affiliated with us at all.
You want me to address it? So in our office, we have a protocol for responding to external researchers if they want access to our students, if they want access to our internal data, if they want access to you.
Gotcha.
We have a protocol we go through. We require a lot of information from them.
Gotcha.
And then I make a recommendation to, well, it turns out myself now by President. And in this instance,
Right.
I wanted to ask Josh to weigh in as well, because it was asking for access to all of them.
Gotcha.
And so that's how that came about.
Gotcha. Cool.
Then I brought it to the steering committee and sure, let's do it. So do we have a due date for submitting?
Yeah, I do believe that the email said something about. Yeah, I think so too. I probably can see it here.
And there's
Yeah, I can see it right here.
it's challenging research to
Yeah, I
be able to do because of the fact that self-disclosure is not always the easiest to do, especially in the political climate that we are. But I do applaud them for trying to employ what they refer to as decolonized, culturally responsive approaches towards trying to collect that data. So I would be curious as to the outcome as well.
I suppose I should say one thing, we always require external researchers. There are their findings with us.
That's, yeah, good.
So, and we only accept research that we feel is in alignment with our mission and our students.
Although that question did come up with a student equity plan when we were looking at disproportionately impacted populations. And we did ask about the state data. Where did you get this data? And obviously there are gaps, so maybe this will help to fill it.
Yeah.
So. All right, so another update, folks. We have a new Chief Technology Officer, Israel Class. You probably saw his introductory announcement to the campus. Just putting this on your radar, folks. There is talk about a transition from the Google Suite that we have been using for years to Microsoft 365. I've had some preliminary discussion with him. There are lots of questions that we are going to throw out there. It's not just faculty, it's also staff as well. I had asked him, because this has very strong pedagogical implications for all of us. Many of us built tons of assignments linking in Google Docs directly into our classes. There are some concerns about whether or not the migration, if it has to happen, if it will go smoothly. What happens?
That's funny.
It's one thing to migrate things from Google Drive to OneDrive.
No.
But for everything that is interconnected in Canvas, that's behind firewalls. I absolutely do not have the technical expertise to speak one way or another. But I think there's some common opinion that says, if we're going to make this massive overhaul, what is the savings that is expected?
No, it's not gonna put max, you know, it's right.
Wow, that one sparked a couple of reactions here. I knew that would. Okay, so let's just do the round robin here. Matt, please.
Why? Dear God.
Why? Yeah. How about no? How about
No,
no?
but it's a serious question.
That's, I want him to articulate for the campus. He and I saw each other at the January 22 meeting and said, we have 2 meetings coming up in February. Please come to this.
And what is the body that's gonna vote to make this decision?
I'm sure that this is not just faculty. There are staff who are going to be very heavily impacted, managers as well. So I think that we have to have a long conversation about what this will mean for every level of communication that we have. Plus, if I think about all the documents that we have archived in the cloud, just think about everything that we put in online for our meetings. Yeah, I wonder too.
So we don't know why yet.
I imagine it would be articulated as a savings to the college. I do have my concerns about the compatibility with Mac devices, which are far more ubiquitous than they previously were a decade ago. So this is definitely a conversation we have to have. Betsy, please.
I hope for lots more conversation. I think especially at a time when everybody is overwhelmed and we're just trying to deal with Banner 9.
Yes.
You have to think about your workforce and the burdens that you put on them.
And the timeline for this, if we absolutely have to make this transition.
Let's have to. We don't have to. Let's have to.
That's a good
It's
question.
ridiculous.
Okay,
I,
is Google going away?
I'm
No.
I'm a fan of Google myself. But I would want our chief technology officer to be able to articulate this. Okay, again, going around the room, Elizabeth.
So at the other college I work at, they use Microsoft Outlook email. Oh,
Yeah, no.
we're gonna have such trouble communicating through that email system. So if they have to do this, does it have to be in the middle of the semester? Or
Oh, no.
semester? Can we not?
They're not.
Over the summer or something?
They can't do it.
Cornelia, please.
What's, is that not just CPC? That question?
We haven't had that question at CPC.
We didn't have chief technology.
Strongly recommend that our highest consulting committee is consultant.
But there's a steering. Just hold the steering.
I could maybe add some information for you, Josh, for the group. I had lunch with Israel yesterday and we talked about some of the initiatives that he's thinking about. He's working on a plan and he'll be bringing it to DTC and probably to Senate. We'll have the discussion at the Instructional Technology Committee. And someone asked the question why, because the college is still looking at saving money. And of course, like every technology change that we go through here at the college, weighing the pros and cons in terms of cost and time on task is going to be looked at.
anticipated savings. So that seems to be the motivation. Sabrina, please.
The other thing is there are so many other things on the help desk ticket list or whatever it's called. Like I know our department has had stuff that needs to be fixed and repaired and worked on that's been on there for years. So I would like for us to work on our priorities and all of those things that need to be fixed before we start tackling something really, really big and new.
I agree. Beth, please.
I know over in non-credit, at least in my classroom, they told us that, the only thing that was gonna end up working on our computers was the Microsoft Edge at some point. I don't know why, I don't understand, I just.
Was there a timeline?
No, they just, yes.
Okay, Kathy, and then we'll make our way around.
So yesterday we talked about this at PNR a little bit. And my understanding is that the students are really gonna be out of luck because this is gonna cost them money.
Yeah.
And we just can't do that. I don't even understand how we would even for that.
Danielle.
And just building on that, that our students in this district and probably all the students in California, they're using Google Drive,
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom, Google Drive in junior high and high school. So they're coming to us knowing how to use the software. And so why add another technological barrier to their ability to access education?
If this is about digital literacy, we're adding another layer on. So they're learning Google Classroom is what a lot of students are used to as well. Let's go with Laura and then Tara.
And not even talking about where they're coming, because this is all about the student, right? Remember, we're out of school. Maybe we should tell Israel we're out of school where we have to think about the students first.
Really?
Because not only that's what they learn to come in, but as an accounting business professor who holds business advisory meetings and talks to business professionals, the number one tool that the people who go out and work in business, because that's why they're here, is to get jobs so they can make more money. They're gonna go work in business that uses Google. They don't use Microsoft because in the business world, Microsoft 365 is the most expensive product a business can buy. So they use Google because it's free, because that's what Google set themselves up for 25 years ago. So maybe we should look at holistically the whole picture, not what they're coming in with and going out with, and not just citing it, well, it's a little bit cheaper. Because we're setting ourselves students up to not be successful. And that's one of the number one areas that when you talk to these advisory boards that are giving us input, one of the things they need to be ready, not just the soft skills that are a big area, but they need to be technologically ready. And Google is what everyone uses because it's basically free or it's extremely low cost.
Tara, please.
That was my comment. Instead, we're gonna train students how to use like beta VHS.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's gonna disappear because it's expensive.
We must have some of those around somewhere.
I think I've ever even seen one.
But you're so young.
But I can still make it go.
In my brief conversation with Israel on this matter, one of the things that I had suggested was, do you have any of your IT professional support teams from other campuses and also other faculty who have seen themselves through this transition? We need to be able to hear what challenges that they have had as well, navigate a campus-wide transition like this.
Where did he come from?
Do not remember.
Does anybody know where he came from? Keller, do you know?
Community district.
Do you know where Israel came from? Small one.
Yeah,
No, he's from a California community college.
Starts with a B, but it's not.
but I'm wondering if they run Microsoft and that's why he's doing this.
Let's take one more comment from Barbara.
So very quickly, even if what it ends up being is a savings, sometimes you get what you pay for, and some things are worth paying for.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And that may be the case with Google, and it's also the case with full-time faculty. We're getting there, but I'm just gonna roll into that. So sometimes you need to find savings in other places.
He was at Palo Verde College and then Gateway Community College. And something called the Apex Parks Group. And then he was at ITT in Oakland.
ITT's, yeah, ITT's a private school.
All right, everyone. If We can return to the president's report here, just a little bit of a heads up. The next ASCCC sponsored Academic Academy on AI is going to be hosted on March 19th. Previously, we sent a team, including Matt Mooney and Rob Brown, myself, and Laura Vasquez, and Leda Tolentino, to last year's Academic Academy on AI. It was Maria who managed to find funding for this as well. If there is discretionary funding in the BPA's office, I would appreciate getting a chance to send another delegation. The spring 2026 ASCCC plenary will be April 9 to 11. This time in Sonoma, Wine County.
How convenient.
But
Not convenient at all.
It's
So
It's unbelievable.
just letting you know where we are in terms of the budget. We currently have under the Senate's budget for travel and conference $4,600. But that's still fuzzy math here because there were a couple of attendees who still have not logged in the request for compensation from the last plenary session. So I will try to update with you with that as soon as possible. An update from the PRT work group and IEC. The resource guide to governance and decision making has been undergoing an overhaul and some updates as well. That will be going around for constituent review. We are expecting that the Senate will receive a copy for the February 11 meeting. On the resource guide to governance and decision making, it was the quad chairs. Now we have Nicole Aldendick, who is working with me and Ryan Alexander, Julie Sampson to be able to update this. We've been trying to smash through the last bits. Julie has a way of agendizing us for 4 hours at a time to be able to do this, and we're still not done. So that is coming your way, folks, and we could use all of your eagle eyes on the updates to the resource guide, but to also make it a little bit more navigable for every reader. Foundation updates. At the last foundation meeting, Rachel Johnson gave us an overview about where the foundation's endowments are. There is a very, very lengthy list of endowments that have been offered. Some of them are actually earmarked specifically by academic discipline. Some of them, however, their purpose is opaque to us because they are just naming the donors themselves. She is organizing all of that, something that is a little bit more digestible for the SBCC community. They want to be able to open up that funding to special programs
Sure they
to be
will.
able to have these some financial resources lend themselves to be able to support students. There are other reports of an audit going on as well that is supposed to be released in February. I was expecting that to be released in October. They are working their way through how to be able to communicate what their finances are looking like to the community. The other thing that they also want to apprise people of, they want to add transparency to the process by which requests are made. And it's a matter of compliance. Many of us were used to going to Jeff Green or to other contacts in the foundation, but it was an opaque process for many of us who didn't know, could I make that request? The JIRA system that we now have that we sometimes use for many of our transactions, as it's sometimes complicated to use for a new user, but there is a workflow that is attached to it so that it just doesn't disappear into the ether as to where your requests are in the process. I have since suggested that maybe Rachel Johnson from the foundation should meet with us to be able to explain what our eligibility is for funding, and also to walk us through what it's like to move through the JIRA system so that we can actually see if we can fund some programs. Yes.
This was the Friday before classes began, because I know that Jody had just met with her on Zoom first, and she had an hour with me. I think she's worked with several other faculty. It is not a user-friendly system. Sitting down with her and having that time makes it manageable. I would recommend that to any of you who run use any kind of funding from the foundation, because it is not, we talked about business writing. It is not particularly well written. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
If it was for things like transactions or ASCCC membership, I had no problems in using it, but that's not the same thing as making a request of the foundation for programmatic funding.
Or moving funding from the foundation into a trust account and then
trying.
oh, that's a whole other.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yes, it is.
We do that all the time. It's a mess. What about the 20 million?
Yeah, so that we had,
Yeah.
are we gonna get updated on this?
Thank you, Scott.
So we did have a number of meetings. This is also where I got a chance to be able to find out where the foundation members are versus where the executive leadership or the foundation are. There were 2 sessions, one of them also a financial literacy session where we did talk about what the whereabouts of the Mackenzie Scotland. One of the meetings also in December was about saying, how are we going to respond to the channels article as well? So it's not like they aren't aware or that they need to answer that for the community. The communique is expected February.
It is interesting when I look to forget, it was last semester, and I was given money all over the country.
Yeah,
And to look and see what other schools are actually doing with the money is.
and
very
then she gives more.
Yes. Oh, she'll keep giving. Yeah, she's doing good stuff with that.
As I understand it, some of the investment funding from it, investing it so that we could apply it to paying for Measure P. That was one way in which the funding was used for. But the whereabouts of the rest of it and our existing balance for it, those are the things that will be discussed in February.
It's discussed when,
February.
And in what capacity?
I have a little bit of a weird feeling when we are talking about the whereabouts of $20 million.
Yeah, really, where is it?
And so it's coming soon, guys.
Yes.
It's next week.
And lastly, just something to put on all of your radar as we proceed through the spring. We do have a faculty lecture that is coming up. Kim Banda is going. Irene, this is her swan song, so to speak, on campus. Kathy has informed me that we do invite some of our retirees to attend. Just wanted to let all of you know, I did have a lunch meal with Peter Haslund, former faculty, former trustee. And one of the things that he brought to me was, it was of importance that we bring some of our retirees back into campus life. He told me about an incident where under Dr. Goswami that some of our retirees' parking benefits were revoked and they had to work to get those reinstated. And he did let me know what that feels like as a retiree to feel like you were cut off from the community. If there are ways that we can roll them into campus life, I would really like to make sure that our retirees feel that they are welcome here. And frankly, right now, folks, morale is low, and not just because of some of the internal challenges that we've had. All of that is in the backdrop of a lot of the challenges that we are seeing around the country. When I get a text message at 12:45 a.m. on January 2, gosh, something must be done.
Oh my God, no, look at me, who was it?
Oh, my phone turned off. Who wasn't it, folks? Folks, what I read into that is work gives us some respite, strangely. We're responding to a lot of the stressors for the things that we don't have control over right now. The world is
A mess.
a mess right now. And so I'm trying to remind myself when people are agitated and they feel like they need to get something done. Sometimes the things that we cling to are work. Maybe a good thing might be to actually have our retirees come back. I miss some of our faculty colleagues, frankly, and I think some familiarity might be just the thing that we need. So if there are ideas about what we could do to be able to roll them back into campus life, I think that would be something important to do. Kathy, please.
Two things, our retirees who are our emeritus faculty, the communication with them is awful. Last year, remember, we went through all this stuff with making sure we have people on the list.
Yeah.
I had 3 people and it took months for them to get any in fact, one of them said, well, I got this thing that said you can come get your parking pass. There was nothing else on the letter, nothing like congratulations. So glad, you know. And like they get a gold card, you know, to get them into all the events. Nothing about that. They haven't gotten those yet.
Really?
I mean, the whole thing is BS. So somehow we really need to get, if HR is responsible for this, we need to know who in HR and maybe have a little conversation with them about what would be appropriate to congratulate our emeritus faculty.
Yes.
I mean, really?
Yep.
They don't have time to do the rest of the job. They, No, but they don't do their regular jobs, but maybe this part needs to be turned over to another office
Something.
to congratulate them. And then I know last year for the faculty lecture, you know, what happened during COVID and all that stuff with the emails for all of the
yeah.
retired faculty. And then remember, there was a big issue about they were gonna take pipeline away from retired faculty.
Yeah.
We battled that at District Technology Committee for meeting after meeting. So I don't even know what the status is of that anymore, but they all need to have an email and we all need to be able to communicate with them. And so
I
I'm
need to have
hoping.
access to their materials.
Because Bonnie Chavez emails me from his pipeline and he's
Well,
retired, so I think.
He's been retired a long time, so I don't know what's happened with all the poor people in between.
That's true.
But I'm gonna try to work with Holly. I think Holly's on our meeting. She is, hi Holly, of making sure that for the faculty lecture, that
They get invited.
all the retirees get invited, and particularly the past faculty lectures, which last year, some of them didn't get invited until they called one of us and said, when is it happening? So I think there's just been some breakdown over the years with change in people and all this, but this is horrible. I mean, our retired faculty should feel some
Not like garbage.
sense of being proud of being with us at some time or another.
There, go ahead.
First of all, they deserve it, number one.
Mhm.
Number two, it's counterproductive. They're in the community.
Right.
Mhm.
They work within the community.
And
They have, and gee, when we want to do something like, I don't know, pass a bond, it really helps to have people talking us up in the community, supporting us. So
We
it's
should be
just.
using
it's-
them as fundraising
Yes.
people. You
Yes,
know, we don't even go out to our students.
yes.
I mean, we're doing nothing.
Have you seen Manu's commercial on public broadcast?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
It's on PBS, on like KCET.
yes, on public broadcast. You've never seen that before.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
With some of our policies. We are on, we have to be moving. forward on the
fantastic.
agenda.
What is he promoting?
Right. Bring it on.
I just remember seeing it, and be like, holy shit, that's Manu.
Yeah, we touch on kind of, we wanna keep contact, but we forget how much of a direct resource they are within the CTE. All of our retirees immediately fill out, and it's quite arduous, actually, the volunteer paperwork, you might as well get hired. To volunteer, right? And it doesn't matter that you just retired, you do it all over again.
Mhm.
But they come into the labs and they support students, they have decades of experience, they're wonderful resource, and now instead of, 30-1, now we've got 15-1 or 10-1 when we have a couple of our retirees who are volunteers come in. So we get back, I think, way more than a parking pass and, have to email list, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I think
Yeah, they're lucky if they even get the parking pass.
you're right, yeah, no, they park in the auto park because it's such a hassle, yeah, and it's a complaint, but. Thank goodness they're willing to put up with that, but you guys are right, I think we would just get back so much more than we're given.
Agreed. And everyone, we have 5 of our colleagues who are going to retire from faculty this year. I want them to know there is something waiting for them here. on-
Yeah, Dan, you got me. Hey, Dan, let us know when you get your letter.
All right, everyone, I'm going to.
I have a quick follow-up, Josh.
Katie.
When is it, can you remind us the date of the faculty lecture?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
Mm,
Do we know that yet?
Yeah, we do.
yeah, I do.
It is.
Before spring break
Yes.
is
March 24th.
There.
March. Shit. God. Somebody there maybe knows.
It's okay, Kathleen.
Somebody ding.
I'll bet Kim knows.
Kim knows. Is Kim there?
Yeah.
Miss Kim,
Oh, Kim, when's your date?
Holly, just raise your hand.
Really knows.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, the lecture's on April 30th.
Oh, it's after.
Oh, it is.
Oh.
All right,
Oh, yeah, I have it, yes.
okay. April-
30.
I do too, 2:00.
2:00?
I have to-
I have 2:30.
Well, whatever, be there at 2, you'll have refreshments.
Okay.
Thursday?
Let's make sure our retirees.
Thursday.
Let's make sure our retirees and our past nominees also attend. Keller, I'm going to turn things over to you for the VPAA's report.
Okay, lucky Keller. I'll be brief, and I'll start by saying that I'm still kind of a deer caught in the headlights. So I have just a few things that I want to add. I'll be bringing back more to the next meeting in terms of enrollment information and so forth. But as of this morning, our spring head count enrollment was down by 1%, which is an improvement over couple of weeks ago, we were down 2.8%. So we're seeing some improvement there. And it's really clear, as was the case in the fall as well, that that the declines are largely attributable to out-of-state and international students. So that maintains. That is me.
Question, to what degree are late start classes?
Yes, there are still late start, so that's why I say we will get more information because we are still enrolling.
Yeah.
And there are late start classes on the schedule. I'll have more information for you at the next report. I literally, when I was trying to put this together this morning, I was like, I don't have access to some of the reports that I need. You know, class cancellations. I don't have specifics for you about class cancellations. I know, or additions. But what I can tell you, thinking about this class schedule, that we have 1,287 credit course sections. When we're earlier in this enrollment period, we started out with 1,264. So we've been adding. There have been some cancellations and additions going on. I'll have firmer numbers for you that next time I report. We are actively monitoring right now. This is the time where we're going to cut up, you know, we got to make final decisions. But it looks like we're largely where we're going to be. Let's see, what else did I want to say about enrollments? Just lost.
Is that 1% to last spring or from the fall?
No, so the daily enrollments are looking at same date, the prior spring.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Spring.
Yeah.
Where did we end up in last spring? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, you know what, let me look at the
okay,
reports
sorry.
when they're final, because we still have some numbers that are coming in from fall. But were you talking about last spring? Yeah, I don't keep numbers like that in my head. I'm happy to that may be totally.
We're down 1%.
Yeah.
We can add 1%.
Just a quick follow-up, in terms of international versus out-of-state enrollments, do you have a sense whether one is more impacted than the other, or is it mostly the international students, or is it both?
It's both. It's really both. Yeah. Yeah.
Some Greenland coming.
Nope. They're not speaking with us right now.
And that doesn't include dual enrollment either, does it?
Right, with dual enrollment numbers all come after, but if you're thinking about the same time last semester spring, we weren't looking at it.
Right.
Yeah, it's apples to apples. Thank you. So spoken like a week. You'd think I'd be able to say that. Okay, I wanted to give you all, maybe you all have heard some of this elsewhere. I know it was in Erica's report to the board, if you watched that we are still in limbo on our baccalaureate application for health information management. And I actually decided to put this on today because there was, Cal Matters just published a report just today about the ongoing fight about the bachelor's degrees. And we're basically we're in good company, right? The crux of the argument remains about, so the law allows for the UCs and CSUs to challenge on the basis of duplication. But it doesn't exactly define duplication, what is meant by duplication, although it does give parameters that I think are in our favor, but who knows what the final decision is going to be. Duplication, if you look at our application, it's Cal State Long Beach was challenging us. Cal State Long Beach. Now, there are two other colleges, don't ask me to tell you who they are right now, two other colleges who have been approved for this same bachelor.
One in San Diego.
Yep.
And one in Florida.
I think you're right. Yep. Kathy's right. They've both been approved. They were approved before Cal State Long Beach had this bachelor's program.
Let's see, that's ridiculous.
So now the state is saying, well, now we have a duplication problem. Well, if you look course to course level, there is significant duplication. The final report from the evaluator says it's something like 80% duplication course to course. But the law allows us to look holistically, and you look holistically at our program, and there are important and significant differences. And this is Erica has spoken to this. She spoke last week just about it, about the really two critical things are, one is that it's our students who are eligible to take our bachelor's. And you have to have our program before you can get into our bachelor's. And secondly, ours results in a professional certification that the Cal State Long Beach program doesn't. So there's a good justification. It's just a matter of whether they're gonna have the courage to go against this Cal State Long Beach is objection, and who knows, they may make their decision based on a strategic, larger than our program decision, but we remain sort of in limbo at this point.
Even saying they, who are you talking about they, is the decision maker?
The chancellor's office has to proactively support our program and recommend our program. And I will be honest with you, this late in the day, I don't even remember the decision-making body. It's the board. The Board of Governors, yeah.
Doesn't it go beyond that, though, when we have a CSU challenging? I would imagine this is gonna go to court.
But that's a good question.
Yeah.
And it is a really interesting problem. I don't love it for our program in limbo, because two programs already exist, right?
Yes.
And so why do those students who have access to those programs at the community colleges, why can't we have our students?
It's an equity issue.
So to be continued. I mean, the good news is probably you all already know that we did receive ACCJC approval for the substantive change. So we've got our ducks in a row, and I'm not going to force cast anything about hiring, but we've got our ducks in a row if we get an approval.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Is that bachelor's a fully online?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you. I had forgotten that.
I see hope.
Something. Okay, move on to the next item. All right, so the last item is sort of me in two hats, but I think that Vice President of Academic Affairs would be bringing this to you at this point. This is super preliminary information, but it is our preliminary analysis of the student survey that you all helped craft last fall. Here, let me start with what I think is really an impressive piece of this, which is there was a lot of collaboration to craft and refine that survey here and elsewhere. Students were involved, student services were heavily involved, non-credit were faculty and non-credit staff were involved as well. And ASG supported us significantly. In terms of input and also in terms of getting the word out to students. So they were posting on their social media, you take the survey, etc. I want to thank everybody here in this room who were involved in giving input last fall. It was incredibly helpful. And there were a lot of you who both promoted the survey and gave students extra credit to take the survey. And so we had a 10% return. We had over 1,700 students participate, and that's based on surveys that I've seen, survey responses on this campus and prior. This is a significant improvement. So there was a real difference in sort of collaborating together to make sure students hear about the importance of the survey. So that's the background. The other thing is, I think 10% is a really good response rate anyway. And when we look at if we look at the demographics of students who responded by all kinds of factors, the enrollment during last term when they took it And the response rates are really, they hew really closely. So we do have what I am really comfortable with in terms of a representative sample. I think there are no surprises here. Again, this is really high level. It's like it's a blunt instrument to tell you kind of, but I've summarized some of the highlights here. I don't think that there's anything surprising. I want to point out one thing that I think is very timely here, which is if you look at the modality preference for fall and spring versus summer, it's very timely for right now when we're building the summer schedule that students are saying it's a different animal in the summer. So that's a timely one. And I guess you all have questions. Yeah.
I wondered how many of the respondents were non-credit versus credit. Do we know that?
We will know that. We do know that, but that will be part of the larger report. So there was a lot of branching that happened in the survey so that you would get a different set of questions if you were a non-credit student. Some of them were common, some of them were not. So I don't have a firm answer for you on that, but that's where in the final report, you're going to get results that are really broken down by the profiles of students, including services needs. We're hoping we have enough numbers to do things like, part-time students who are student parents who are taking this many credits, they tend to need this in terms of scheduling. So that's the kind of analysis we're involved in right now. And then I'll just say, and I think there are more questions, that we are hoping to have the final report to publish at the kickoff, but we will at least have some more nuanced data, and we have a student panel lined up that will be at the kickoff, and we'll be posing questions that are related to the results of the survey. This is what our finding was. Can you tell us about how that sort of strikes you, and what are your own personal experiences that you can add to this? So that panel will be at the kickoff. And Tarnia, did you already ask your question?
Yeah, that's great that you are saying that, because as I mentioned earlier, we will have a faculty plenary on the 6th, right before the official administration kickoff. Is there, and for sure, we will be very interested in discussing whatever version or more advanced results you have at that point. And if you have anything maybe 2 days before so that I can actually prepare a little bit, I would be very appreciative.
Are you saying you don't want it if I can't give it to you 2 days before?
I still want it.
So I will tell you that's a really tight turn. It's we're cutting it close.
Okay.
But I'm not saying no. I'm trying to remember what my deadline for Melanie for the report was. It's probably the 6th.
Okay.
But I may be able to ask her while she's doing the report, can you be doing a one sheet at least? We'll do what we can.
That's great.
Okay.
Highly appreciated.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm wondering at some point, it may not be at the kickoff, but will we get the more granular details? And I'm looking at the biggest challenges.
Yes.
And the two biggest ones are classes don't fit my schedule.
Yes.
And couldn't get classes needed in person over a third. And I would really like to see what the patterns are. For
Yes,
those classes.
absolutely. So let me tell you about what we're going to do with the final report. And we may be doing a preliminary report that's not this hinky little thing that I've been, just the key points. We may do a preliminary thing, but we will continue to do in-depth analysis so that we're able to say to student services, to faculty, this profile of students is telling us this. This profile of students have this need. And we will do as much as we can. And that's one of the reasons I'm really encouraged and happy about the result, about the 10% response rate, and that it's representative of our student population. So you can count on that analysis is taking place right now. We'll roll out what we can as it comes. That final report. So one of the things that, sorry, this is a totally different hat. Is it okay that I'm putting this in the VPA's report? one of the things that we started this year is to, well, I talked about our survey schedule and our cycle, right? Among the things that we're doing now, because we're on a regular cycle in IR, is there is a developing surveys page. There's a page about the student voice. And we will all have all of those results and reports available on our website. And we will be sharing it broadly, but it will also be posted permanently to the website.
Great, thank you.
This is awesome, thanks. I've watched PhD students work like 3 years to get this much data analyzed, so we appreciate it. With regard to the online summer preference, so my department's scheduling summer in 2 days, our department meeting. Is your office and will the deans be instructed to maybe pull back a little on the 50% face-to-face rule, given this preference for summer, or?
Yeah.
Still gonna be feeling that?
It's a great question, and I think it's related also to the department chairs meeting that we had. When was that again?
Last week.
Friday, like that. And so that was and that was one of the first things that I talked with the deans about. And Cornelia, am I allowed to say the same thing again about giving you credit?
Oh, you can say what?
I'm sorry to talk to you about at a time. So one of the first things that I heard when I was asked to sit in this seat was that Cornelia has made a very good point. That our summer schedule, and we see we see that it is as a result of student preference as well, that it has been significantly online. So I talked to the deans, we talked about it in department chairs meeting, that a balanced schedule for summer looks different than a balanced schedule for fall.
Will be really great for the cleaning initiative too this.
Yeah. So, and I will also say this, it's a little unfair to whoever sits in this seat next, because I have no intention of being in this role permanently. It's a little unfair, but for me to say this, but my approach to this is you can't change everything overnight anyway. So I'm really encouraging nuance, right? And I'm encouraging the department chairs to be bringing the analysis, the student, what you know about student need, what you know about student success. If there's a damn good argument for why, the one thing I will say, if the argument starts with students, if the argument is about student success and student demand, and it's a damn good argument for why, particularly in summer, it should be online. The message is nobody's telling you 50%. Nobody's telling you 50%. Thank you.
We have 2 follow-up comments and then we need to move forward. Elizabeth.
I was looking at conversations about the arguments, but a substantial number of students actually in the summer are at our high schools.
Mhm.
And so there's an overlap that they actually can't come to class in person.
Mhm.
And so that's something that they might want to consider in this day.
Stephanie, please.
Yeah, I think it was really great that the IR office and administration is really thinking about student voices and trying to partner that piece with the department's scheduling best practices. And I think this body, the Senate faculty, talked a lot about the course week software
Mhm.
and about what it means to have a system that helps us all work together in a unified front. That really is like intelligent design, intelligent forecasting. And one of the things we've talked about as a big shame is that, you know, we have this huge data set, that's the student ed plans that counselors work so diligently, especially when they onboard students for the first time.
Yep.
And we have a tentative track of what their needs are for the
Yes,
next 2
yes.
years. And so with, as you know, like conditions change right now, like we talked about ISAT open comment, there's varying factors from year to year
Yeah.
that motivate and
Yeah.
drive the students' need for different modalities or access to campus classes.
Mhm.
So with that moving forward and like this really like first that I've seen this approach to get the student voice in numbers about what strategic scheduling looks like. How are we like working together with like the deans and faculty and counselors and Starfish?
Yes.
To really not just have it be where faculty are kind of guessing through the crystal ball.
Yeah.
But really working together. Because I think part of the issue here and the nuance piece is it can't be a department using this data alone. We can't be siloed.
Absolutely.
Because that 30% of people that say that they can't get into their class, for example, like the students that I've talked to, is because they have that one English class that works, that one math class. They can't get into another math section because it's packed. So it's a domino ripple effect. So really scheduling classes really goes much more beyond than what's the need of that particular class in your department. What time does that class need to be scheduled in order for the students who need that class to successfully enroll? And it's not an easy answer. But can you speak to that of course, it's been brought up in the last few years.
I would like to. And I'll first say, okay. Organizing thoughts. Let me first say, I'm kind of grateful that you brought this question up about handshake between systems and the real data and the data making a difference and the right people around the table. Like basically what you just described is what makes good student-centered strategic enrollment management, period. All of those things that you're talking about. And we are, we're heading in the right direction. I just today had a conversation about the state of CourseLeaf right now, right? And I was like, what fish? That I'm really, really bummed out here about one of the problems that we were talking about. I was talking with Victor and scheduling. One of the problems that we were talking about is that what are those guys who own CourseLeaf? Those guys, whoever they are. They promise that there is an easy handshake to Banner.
There's nothing.
Right? And every software company does that. But in this case, and it's not clear to me yet, but I was like, Victor, we got to talk about this. So, and I have a meeting with Israel, the new IT person, to talk about this and another item, because there was an IT ticket put in long ago about this problem with our CourseLeaf to Banner integration. And some of it is those guys who are CourseLeaf. Somebody tell me what the company is.
We've blocked it out.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. The course.
That's not.
No, it's not that.
It's the owner of Banner. That's.
No, it's not only Ellucian, it's complicated. It's all.
That's where they made the promise, right? Is that CourseLeaf that it works with.
Right.
Solutions, yeah, sure.
And we don't use I don't know if this is wonky talk for people that in Banner, we don't use what's called baseline, which is like, here it is. Ellucian gives it to you and you do the stuff. And Ellucian has all the coders and all the experts who are building stuff and they work with the whole system. And when you go away from Banner baseline and you customize for every single change and use case, you gotta really, really think carefully when you do that. Because every time something changes, Ellucian goes, here, we fixed it. And you go, oh, shoot, it doesn't work with this and that and the other thing. So that's some of it, is that our Banner integration, we've got work to do, as you all know, because you're dealing with Banner 9. We've got work to do there. That ticket, I think, didn't get put forward. I'm looking into it to do this work. But I'm just like, we can't not have this. It's too consequential. So I'm going to be raising that as another item. And I'll tell you that even whenever it is that I'm no longer giving this report to you all, because I get to go sit in my IR office again, that for me, this is also institutional effectiveness. So I will still own this. So that when we have that, and you also mentioned DegreeWorks, when we have that integration better, then, and we have DegreeWorks is being implemented, then all of that stuff that you're talking about will be available to all of us who need to be able to looking at that information in fact, real time, so that we can be making decisions that are student-centered in real time. I'm not making any promises about when, but I am telling you that it is an issue that people are aware of. And I got this meeting with Israel, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And
I'm
we'll,
good.
and we'll also have Israel class here.
Yeah. Poor guy.
So we've got a lot of ground to cover. All right, folks, just be mindful of the time here. We are past the 4 o'clock hour. We have no report out of the VP of Student Affairs. Paloma could not make it today. But because she has a conflict in her schedule. So we will move on to the one action item that we have. Check out your calendars, folks. You have tentative invites for May 6th or May 13th for our final dates of the semester. Which one do you want?
All in favor of May 6th?
Okay.
Do we have a motion on the table? This is our final meeting.
Doesn't anybody else want to say anything?
Is there any discussion around this?
Again.
Commencement.
It's the 22nd.
22nd. So the 13th is the week before finals.
It's.
Is the week before. Yeah.
That's right.
Last week of class, that's right. I'm
That's right.
just trying to think that far.
I don't think that's.
Sorry?
Yeah, it is.
Then we have.
Finals are.
It's like the week of the 12th.
We can always delay
Oh,
the.
that's the last week.
No. Finals ends on the like 16th.
We typically try to settle it on the first
No.
Senate meeting.
The last finals end on, or
Or sorry, the last
graduation's on the
class.
22nd.
Yeah, the final day, last day of finals is the 22nd.
That's
right. Well, actually, the class.
Yeah, the last day of class is.
It'd be nice to not have a meeting.
I get it. I will say I will be equally busy both of those days.
Yeah, right.
Is there any reason why, in terms of, for example, some information that
Yeah, good question.
getting feedback from faculty, making decisions, would it be useful in some way to have that extra week? I'm just thinking now because the AI business that we're doing with the academic integrity, we haven't even talked about that draft in our department yet because it came in December. We didn't have any, and even now, I don't have any feedback for you because this is the first week. Is there something that we need to get done this semester that an extra week would help us get done?
I mean,
That's all
we
I
can
know.
always keep it on the calendar and we can always cancel
Move it.
it as well. And remember, we had special meetings
Okay.
because we had to go through the
Right.
process for ranking too. So,
Gonna be my suggestion.
so if you want to put this off for now, keep them both tentatively.
Just put them both on the calendar. And if we cancel one, we cancel.
Yeah, put them both on the calendar.
So they are already there.
Already there.
There.
They are already there. I can,
Just keep them.
Yeah.
well, then I would just
Basically-
remove the title tentative.
Yeah.
And just keep them on.
Then it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then,
So we're gonna have two.
No.
Let's see what April looks like.
Like if CPC has something that we need to talk about,
Right.
like make a
And we're gonna do
decision,
that.
then we might need to come back and talk about it, because.
Exactly.
That would make sense. So,
Yeah,
but
you
people-
reserve it.
And I'd like to be able to have a say so and not be like, well, you didn't meet, so we made decisions and.
Yes.
I am happy.
That's when people know well in advance.
Either way, if both of these dates are calendared for you, we can keep them on for the meantime.
Good.
So no action to be taken.
No.
No discussion. Thank you very much. We accept that. All right, but we do have some big items that are coming as well. We have a number of APs that we need to revisit. Kathy would never forgive me if we didn't make some changes to our existing academic integrity, intellectual, academic freedom APs and BPs. So we need to keep those as standing items until we get them through. The way that I had put them on the agenda, however, was to say there is still feedback coming from various committees, the AP committee, we have FDSS, and we also have ITC that we tapped as well for some feedback as well. So what you are seeing here, I just decided to attach simply because we need to get rolling on the conversation. Regardless. Information item, I did share this with you during my president's report as well. Updates from the January 22 meeting. Again, please see the recording as well. You may also want to see what transpired during the December 18 meeting as well for public comment. Two of them very different tones, but both of them absolutely necessary. It was a discussion in PDAC that we would bring 805 undocumented funds to campus. The details of that are forthcoming. Please be on the lookout for Jordan Killebrews announcements as well. There is a lot of desire for us to have some education as to how to respond, both in the moment and also in the aftermath. I just had a conversation with Liza from cosmetology, who has a student whose parents have been disappeared by ICE recently. And while she has been able to point that student in the direction of legal counsel, other things like managing food and financial insecurity are going to be big topics as well. We at least know per AP 3900, even though that's in the context about the rightful gatherings and free speech, that there are designations in our policies about what is considered public versus non-public areas that offers us some protection. But as I said at the board as well, knowing what has happened in Minnesota and what has happened in Maine has changed the nature of how we conceive of non-public spaces, because we do have ICE agents who will not care that these are non-public spaces and inaccessible to them by law. So how we respond otherwise is going to be an evolving conversation. I'm hoping that we have more input from our neighbors at UCSB as well, who've been talking with their faculty about how to respond accordingly.
I just have one question. When I heard that now the administrative warrants are allowed, is that something we're supposed to acknowledge? Because that is an unofficial, something that's come out from PBS, and that apparently the current administration is saying on their web pages that administrative warrants are allowed. And so it doesn't have to be signed by a judge. But in the state of California, as far as I've researched everything, they do have to be signed by a judge. And so I didn't know if there's any direction on that. If we were given a warrant and it was administrative warrant, are we supposed to do anything about that?
I still stand by the idea that they have to have a warrant signed by a judge.
Okay.
But that's my unqualified opinion. But I don't think that I've heard of anything mandated that says administrative warrants are the only thing that they need. But again, we know that there are rogue ICE agents out there who, and not an insignificant number, who are being told you have carte blanche authority to do anything that you want.
Yeah, Stephen Miller said that.
Yeah.
Isn't there a law that they're not allowed to wear masks in California that already went into effect?
That's correct.
but they're not following
But they're not following it. I just got a ring notification in my own neighborhood that they were a block away and they were wearing masks. So again, that's where some of what we were doing to resist last fall, the rules have changed because they're not allowing. So we'll see what happens. Also, there's a call for a simmering of tension in Minneapolis, but that doesn't mean that elsewhere in the country that this isn't going to surge again. So
I don't believe that for a minute.
I am very grateful that we are trying to bring Eagle Island to this campus. The projection is that we are going to have a larger session over at the BC Forum as part of well. Yes, and Danielle.
Yeah, what are the schedule?
The larger context of this is that we are in a constitutional crisis.
Yes.
And traditionally, federal law preempts state law and local law. And so, yeah, you would, but so like, are our local sheriff going to arrest ICE agents for wearing masks?
Is not gonna happen.
You know, it's the Trump administration is not following the law, and we're sort of, so we can pass all the laws that we want, but they're essentially a lawless regime at this point. And that's where I do think it would be really helpful for our administration to provide clearer direction and have a much clearer plan about this. My husband is an associate dean at UCSB, and when he heard that ICE had organized, staged themselves on our campus, he was livid. And he came to me and he was like, your administration needs to shut that down. So my sense is there is more that our administration can do, because UCSB has clearly done that, because this is not happening at UCSB. And so whether we need to consult a different set of lawyers or whatever, but he is someone who never gets upset. And the fact that he came to me and told me this is an indication of just how upset he was. Because usually when I try to tell him about what's going on at work, he's like, I don't want to hear about it. So I just think
I don't blame him.
Our administration, this is on them. Faculty are going to be the ones in the thick of this with students. Like, one of my students emailed me today and said, I can't come because there's ICE activity on my street and I'm afraid I'm going to get arrested. So we're going to be that student facing part, but it's really on the administration to do more and to communicate more clearly to us. And we should be notified through Alert You when there is ice activity on
Yes.
the east side.
We should.
You know, it should not be waiting until they set foot on our campus to get alerts.
Minnesota has reported sharp declines in student attendance at school.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're not at that stage yet, but we need to be prepared. Roosevelt, please.
So this being said, where our students are crazy from the campus, and we have drops coming up soon. Do we get any place for you to, especially with the student who emailed said, I just can't come because there's ice?
Well, you can excuse those.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
gonna drop that.
you.
You know.
You're,
But some of our students are too afraid to communicate with us, right?
well,
How am I gonna?
It may also be a good idea to start talking about what we did during the pandemic, where we had to pivot on an emergency basis to fully online, if it should ever come to that. And we're here in California, we have some protections, but we've seen what's happened. Now we're seeing it in Maine. We'll be keeping a watchful eye on it. If you hadn't already seen this, this was sent to faculty via Tino Garcia, Justina Buller, and Melissa Menendez, our Raíces faculty, tried to rally faculty to attend the last board meeting along with staff as well. This is a dream resolution that they had introduced to the board as well. To say you need to immediately adopt this resolution. So a couple of the things that they demanded in this resolution, defining and publicizing public versus private campus spaces. Demanding that they implement real-time alerts and mandatory staff training. Both of these we covered already. Establish a Hispanic Serving Institution Advisory Committee. Among some of the things that they are also requesting is that there will be a standing dean during the evening hours as well, in order to make sure that if there are problems, that it be communicated and dealt with swiftly. Number 4, expand and institutionalize the Dream Center, expanding and relocating the Dream Center funding and hiring dedicated staff, a full-time Dream Center student program advisor, and a Dream Center coordinator to be able to support students. Let's see, what else? Establishing community oversight and training accountability. Be resolved that the Santa Barbara City College commit to an ongoing collaboration with students, community partners, and advocacy organizations to ensure these policies are implemented, monitored, and enforced with transparency, accountability, and care. Because of the lengthy number of public comments regarding this very topic about ICE on campus, the board decided to move up their discussions about the campus's response. And I'm hoping that they will pick up the conversation about the dream resolution as well.
just a quick question. Maybe I missed an email from the administration, but has the administration sent anything to our students that basically tells them to please communicate with your faculty if you feel in danger or you feel at risk? And I mean, has the administration sent anything like that to all of our students? Well, maybe that'd be a good idea.
Has there been anything this semester yet?
Well, that's why I thought maybe I missed something, but I don't remember seeing anything. So.
At a conference, come on, guys.
Well, she doesn't have to be the only one coming up with something, but I think we should communicate directly to our students and maybe even have a notification on like Canvas, the top of Canvas, you know, where we keep getting that stupid thing about is your class named properly or whatever the frick it is. I'm so tired of seeing that. Maybe it should be something about if you feel in danger, please communicate with your faculty.
Leo and then Roosevelt.
Thank you. You have seen some communication and I do agree that it could be more direct in other ways to further that. But I've seen where Jordan, Killsbrew and Arnold have been through most of the communications of Jordan Killsbrew been not only alerting after incidences, but even I recall preemptive discussion, directive, those cards of who to speak to and
right.
It's refrained from interacting, and there was even a bit more of an in-depth of why that is and how to follow through on that. Could it be that there's more of that to come? It was able to work with, in essence, to meet with 805 and Dr. Bun as early myself as February of 25 last year. And I met with they as well as in conjunction with ILDC, Immigration Legal Defense Center, who I'm sorry, they work together. So if it were that direct legal representation, yes, 805 and Dr. Bun offers that to multiple agencies, but ILDC, which their executive director would encourage conversation. Yes. Is that I'm aware of, even with the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors, and I want to say our behest and my behest, there were added to ILDC therapists. And I know that it's not the same dichotomy because generally it were parents or elders who had been taken, and then the family that remains, how that is for them psychologically and otherwise, yes. Financially and economically, we're looking for that but also could it be that knowing of who students that have been directly impacted, who have been taken, that if their family and even students who have concerns and haven't been, let's say, directly affected, could it be that the two, I believe it were to be three, but I'm certain of two psychologists were added to ILDC nonprofit there for such reasons. You know, they have quite a list of persons to serve, but it might be another opportunity to say, hey, could someone from there come talk? Or could there be our psychology professionals to say, hey, here's a number, Dream Center more than likely include such, but that's a great idea to be more proactive in having those discussions.
Great. Rosabeth closes out.
So backing up also, thank you so much. Backing up what Kathy said about our students getting a general message. You know, we are in times of crisis. This is a crisis. And why can we not send something like that out to alert you?
And anything that's sent to students should also be sent to us.
Right.
So we know what the students are getting. So then we can reinforce or resend something, because I have no idea what students get. And I think that's not a very good communication style.
Cornelia.
Just one sentence, I ordered 2,500 of these cards that which reference, and I put them there if anyone wants them. We also hand them out at the plenary.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Cornelia.
All right, everyone, if we can please turn our attention to one of the first of our session items. Again, trying to bridge what we did in the last meeting that we had to close out the fall. Wanted to offer you some updates with regard to the emergency hire requests. If you'll recall, the HIM program is still in the works for approvals from the state. But that will be funded separately of what we had ranked. Tried to make sure that all 6 of the emergency hire requests that we put forward, that we conveyed to the board and to the administration, that these are all emergency hires that meet the Senate's emergency hire criteria. One of the things in my conversations with Kim Monda about how to approach the next steps was to be able to say, if we are not funding all of these, perhaps it is the case that the Senate's emergency hire criteria are not what the board or administration see as emergency hire criteria, in which case we need some feedback from them. But in my conversations with Dr. Andrew Jonas, she said, no, your emergency hire criteria are fine. Mm-hmm. So here are some pieces of feedback that I have acquired from Erica. I made sure ahead of agendizing this that I made sure not to mischaracterize what she is saying. So these are the updates. First of all, my concern, we're running late. As all of you know, it takes time to be able to get through just the setup for these interviews. We may only have 6 among the faculty that we are putting forward. It's not like the 20 that we sometimes put forward. But even then, it's about the viability of the pool itself. So those are some of the concerns that I conveyed. What she had said was she is meeting with Chris Renbarger to review the budget, and she will have a firm answer expected of the first week of February. So here are some things that she had suggested with regard to radiography. She says, I think it's fair for you to let the Senate know that I am committed to filling this position. That's not a surprise. They need one clinical director and they also need someone to run the program as well. We know that we're going to be losing Bruce Oda, and as a matter of accreditation, they have to. You're not going to invest in an entire radiography lab and build relationships with Moore Park and Allen Hancock and not support this position. So radiography, yes. The others. With regard to marine diving technology, I have inquired about providing at a minimum the half-time administrative position to support the marine diving technology program to relieve Emma of clerical burdens. I am not sure why the previous dean did not replace the position as he said he would, but I know giving Emma this support would be helpful. I am in conversation with Devin about what the demand is and whether the program can provide load for two full-time faculty. So I have reached out to Emma Hornick. As you know, she is very, very busy all the time. I'm going to circle back to her to say, what would the impact be of having an administrative assistant? There was also a proposal that I put forward that said, what if we can at least get a provisional hire, temporary contract to be able to support the position while you are also trying to find out what the demand is for the program as well. But I think it's also clear the program cannot grow because there are limitations on how many students that Emma Hornick can handle at any one time. And I'm reiterating, she has 11 preps, 5 in the fall, 6 in the spring. That is too much for any one faculty member. With regard to theater arts, she wants to explore whether or not there is someone in the arts district here at Santa Barbara City College who could help to fulfill this. What Katie and I have discussed is that this is a very technical position that we are talking about. This is a technical director. This is safety, this is lighting. We cannot expect that Katie and her colleagues can simply pick up this piece. She did want to convey, however, that she is sensitive to the needs of the program and she acknowledges that this is very popular with the community. With regard to.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
So what exactly does that mean?
Nothing.
I'm just trying to, in other words, where's Katie?
Here I am.
Find somebody.
Yeah, there's nobody in town.
But I mean, you mean to hire or just to help out?
It sounds like maybe it's a part-time position.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, would it be a part-time position if you could
Well, we
find
don't have-
somebody?
You know, we really don't have people in Santa Barbara with the skills to do this.
The meeting the minimum
Yeah.
qualifications to
Yeah,
actually teach.
yeah. And have the MQs and all that.
When we've had assistant level positions and trying to get even just like a rudimentary level of
Right.
skill. We've had 1 application for the job, 2 applications, it turns out they don't know, they have, that does not exist in town, and we basically before.
With regards to biology and biomedical sciences, for my part, I wanted to make clear that biomedical sciences and their anatomy and physiology courses are critical to some of the other positions that we are trying to fill as well. If they ever wanted a vision for how all of these pieces fit together, anatomy and physiology serves a lot of programs. With regard to biology, I reiterated for the board that every degree for transfer requires a biology class, that we are not keeping up with student demand for the moment. Erica's only reply was she does acknowledge that there is great demand for our bio classes.
What did you say about BMS, anything?
With regard to BMS, at our meetings, we did agree that the intersection of BMS and PE, nursing, HIT, CIM, the new HIM program, and radiography, that was a critical one. At least in our conversations, she agreed that those were important. In this email follow-up, she simply said she acknowledged the demand.
Okay.
With regard to automotive technology, Russell, my understanding is that you're going to be retiring in spring 2027.
That's my goal, yes.
That's your goal, and I made sure to reiterate to the board, you want to retire.
Yeah.
So
On Ted.
Erica's response is, this is not an emergency hire, there is still a full-time faculty. But
Guess you have to leave.
Catch 20.
He's out of here right now.
Time that you don't hire when we have a failed search, what happens to the program?
the timeline, I tried to reiterate, the timeline is of critical importance. The challenge with marine diving technology, why Emma is in the situation that she is because there were 3 failed searches, as I understand it. She, as a replacement hire, was hired late. And so there was no one to onboard her. So practically the program was something she had to build up from scratch. I cannot do that for the automotive program either. So I'm going to reiterate the timetable here. You need to hire to be able to make sure that this person can build up the program. There were other things that I talked about with Kim as well, to be able to say, okay, are there some things in the onboarding of a new faculty member that we can get assistance from other departments? The administration of the department itself, can we lean on other chairs to be able to help out with that? But that's still a half measure to trying to fill the needs that we have for faculty. So those are some of the updates that she had offered. In further discussion, she said, I would be open to filling more, but not all of these full-time faculty positions if I could get a firm commitment that faculty are willing to work with us to be at their class cap at census. I want to be clear about the wording. She has pivoted from saying, although it's kind of inherent in the solution here, what her primary concern is about where we are in terms of the census date itself and where our enrollments are at that point. It's something that we also brought up with regard to online classes, on the understanding that there is, for many classes online, a high attrition rate, and that going into census, we do see a drop off. Just to give you one anecdotal example, folks, for my psychology of human sexuality class, currently I'm at 42. But there are 8 students in my fully online asynchronous course who still have not checked in, regardless of how many different channels I've used to be able to try to communicate. I'd like to be able to know where other faculty are on this one. If we are raising our caps, I do have some follow-up questions on that. If we're talking about how this feeds into our productivity measures, have we all properly reported that after temporarily raising our caps that we have asked the scheduling office to bring that back down to where they normally are? Because if that's the case, we are underestimating just how many students we are taking above the usual class sizes. Yes.
Because what has happened frequently, and I'm going to speak for our scheduling office, is that, let's say I decide to go ahead and put a bigger cap in because I don't want students to have to go through the rigmarole of being on a wait list. But then I don't get them. Now my productivity's gone down. So then I email Victor and say, can you change it again? So that when it gets calculated, it's actually back down to 40. And he's like, oh. And rightly so. Anyway, then just want to let everyone know, like this is the back and forth, so very complicated.
Yeah. This is a conversation we've had a number of times at a much higher level. A technician shouldn't have to go back into the software and adjust the cap. The people analyzing the data should be using a historical baseline cap from 4 or 5 years ago and not tracking it year to year. Because what we've done is change our caps, and that historical baseline needs to be the baseline. I mean, that, to me, as somebody who's worked with data, seems trivial. You just pull a baseline from another.
My cap, I've already changed to increase.
And we can't be chasing our tails from semester to semester on what was the cap now here, right?
Elizabeth Chisholm, and then Cornelia, and then Danielle, and then Laura, please.
Also, like, yeah, I want to be at my cap. Like, obviously, I try my best to be at my cap. So like, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, yes.
I'm over enrolling in anticipation of the drop off. Maybe that's right.
Not right now.
Absolutely.
My cap is 33. Okay, like I'm doing it. We're all doing it.
We're trying. We're all working at it.
What do you think I'm doing?
Cornelia.
Yeah, I think a lot of faculty already are working towards this, towards like trying to fill a cap at census state. On the technical parts, I don't understand why the department chairs can't change the cap, the enrollment limit. I want to be clear, cap is something that academic senate, CSC sets. Enrollment, the core is in the core, and the enrollment limit for this semester for math classes, that would save me 100 million emails to, which feels like 100 million emails to scheduling. And I can only imagine by the number of emails I send for my small department, how many they must be getting from larger departments. And then everything back and also staggered back because of the late start classes where I have to then like wait, right, until the late start class starts and then reset them. It's crazy.
But do we have to reset the caps?
Yes.
Yes.
So they know that we're.
Otherwise, it will,
But
it will
it'll be-
stay.
it'll use against you.
Over to next.
Go back to what the cap was.
Yeah, that's not.
But that's ridiculous.
And the sheer labor involved, as Tara said, to be able to tell Victor, we need to bring them back to their original.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
my point is, we may be underestimating what savings we are making to the college by not having an accurate idea about the proportion of students that we actually have above our cap. I am currently teaching a research methods course that is supposed to be at 33. I'm currently at 43 right now. If I don't tell Leda to contact the scheduling office to bring it back down to 33, then we are underestimating how we are trying to improve for this year.
Without that.
What your demand is.
And what,
Yeah.
just the demand, sheer demand alone. And that's where it's like, okay, that's where we're saying, could we have opened up a third section
Yeah,
of this
exactly.
between myself and my colleagues in psychology? So there are challenges here with actually calculating out what our efficiencies are. So let's go with Danielle, and then we'll go with Christy and and then Laura.
Yes, I have like 3 points.
Oh.
One is this idea, like, of course, we want our classes to be full, like this assumption that somehow we're trying not to is insulting.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that it's not just our practices. Some of our practices are just fine. But especially in the online medium, who knows when a student enrolls, what happens between then and.
But my fully online classes, I just keep adding students.
I do
right?
too.
Like,
Me too.
and most of us do. So there's the like, don't insult us, we're professionals comment. Student success. If your class is capped at 33 for research methods and you have 43 students in there, you are not going to be able to effectively teach 43 students research methods. And then we have board members yelling at us about student success.
Yep.
Like really out of pocket yelling at us. So is it student success or is it money and butts in the seat? Because there is a trade-off there and that needs to be articulated rather than blaming faculty for everything.
And on the long-term success argument, also a question, is this the financial gain that we have in the short term versus how our supplementary funding for long-term success, degree and certificate attainment, we need that as part of the picture to balance this out.
Yes. And third, we were forced to do this 50% face-to-face thing, and guess what? Students didn't want classes face-to-face. They didn't want to take classes Thursday afternoon.
I didn't help it.
You know, I scrolled through, like history, we had to like cancel a class and convert a bunch to late start online classes because they were not full. And I started, because I'm a nerd, just leafing through our schedule to look at open classes. And so many of these face-to-face classes were like capped at 60, had 11 students in them. And so this like top-down authoritarian approach to what scheduling and what the administration thinks it should look like and thinks what students need, when in fact, it may be what they need, but it's not what they're enrolling in.
Right.
And that in turn affects FTS, it affects our funding, it affects what our cap, like, are we meeting cap? Well, maybe not, because we offered too many face-to-face classes that students didn't actually want. And so I resent the implication that this is faculty's fault and that we are not working hard enough and that we are not taking enough students. Everything's faculty's fault. When we have tried to say we don't think it's a good idea to make half face-to-face, and we're told we're lazy and we don't want to be here. And I would also argue, and this gets back to this more complicated schedule management, from a student perspective, they may have to be face-to-face for classes with lab, for chemistry, for biology, for whatever, but they may want to squeeze in their social science class as an online class. So there may be some departments and disciplines that need to be offering more online or hybrid while students are here in person for the classes that absolutely have to be in person. And that flexibility And bigger picture needs to be part of the planning.
Correct. Christie, and then Elizabeth.
So when the words out of my mouth, and that you can't have it both ways. You can't have us, how are we addressing needs of the students who need more support while telling us to add more people into the classes? It's just not possible. Pick a route and go with it, that you can't have both sides of the same coin.
I also want to bring into the conversation, I've said it before, so forgive me for repeating myself, that it has to be part of a comprehensive plan. That if we're going to shift a culture back or shift a culture at all, it takes time and it takes resources. And so this idea that we have to change our schedule madly and then change it back when it doesn't work, and then change it again, and then change it back when it doesn't work, without a commitment at the administrative level. If we really want to see a shift in culture, then there's got to be a shift in policy. We've got to support the faculty who are coming and trying to teach online and letting their classes go. The students don't have confidence in enrolling in a low enrolled class because they expect it to be canceled. And faculty don't want to put all the work into planning a face-to-face class, but it's to get shifted online. Or planning an online class where it's to be shifted back face-to-face. So if we really want, and we're really sincere about bringing more classes back to campus, there has to be a plan, and there needs to be collaboration between the administration and the faculty to support the faculty and the students in building the confidence to make it happen.
Katie.
Yeah, thank you for that. Today in one of my classes, a student was saying like, please, you guys, can you please sign up for this class? There's only, 8 people in it, and I have ad codes, and I was just like, this is so sad. Like the students have to now be marketing because our administration isn't doing it. I mean, I remember, years ago, Jack Friedlander saying, I'm gonna go get us students, and he went out and got students. I mean, there were ways that he was able to get us more enrollment. And it just feels like for so long, the administration has just made it about faculty failures, like faculty not doing their work, and that's why we're struggling with enrollment, and now our poor students, like they feel the pressure. What? I don't get it.
So we have 2 more comments. We're obviously not going to get to everything that we have on the agenda. These can be standing items. We're going to be revisiting them anyway. I do want to put it on everybody's radar. The next board meeting is February 19th. That we have until then to be able to plan our response as well. And also we are expecting a response from Erica's office the first week of February after she confers with Chris Renbarger. One of the things that I will also do before we get to our further comments here, what Erica shared with me, it's not about revising our emergency hire criteria. She is suggesting this is about the finances of the college. And this is where Cornelia might be able to hop in as well. I saw what you had suggested about the font. If we are still over our faculty obligation number, which I'm currently confirming, replacing full-time faculty adds more expense to the college at a time when we are in stability and receiving no additional revenue. Yes, we have had retirements, but until we have to hire full-time faculty to meet our font, every full-time faculty hire costs more than hiring adjuncts to teach the same load. We have to work to increase revenue while managing how much generating the revenue costs.
Isn't the font a 4? Yes.
It's a 4.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it became a target at some point.
That's one of the
It's
reasons.
been a target forever, but I'd like to see, I think it'd be really
Wait,
good if Keller could recount for us and tell us what's being counted.
Well,
We're doing that.
Yeah, because we used to have that.
I don't want to argue with your acumen, but when Fawn was conceived of, I've gone back and read, 50 was a floor and the target was 75. And it's there in the language, but somehow 50 becomes target. I don't know how that happened.
50 for fun?
I think we had 59. 59%.
That's what the administration is.
That's 5%.
Yeah, percent become the target.
That's the 50% rule of thumb.
Are you kidding?
Well, it's not so fun.
Laura,
well, it's the number that
Oh.
plus 50%.
So ironically, I come at this at a slightly different perspective, though I agree with everything everyone said. I teach primarily face-to-face. And my cap for accounting, if you go look at the core, is 30 to 35, depending on the class. Every one of my classes has 45 to 50. I'm well over my cap. It's fine. My class works just fine with that many. It does not impact learning. It just means there's more pairs of students talking, and it's okay. It's just as effective. I firmly believe that, and that's why I take it on. Ironically, there is nowhere to put me. I'm willing, I would take 60. I'd take 75. It would work just fine. I would happily do it because I know what it does for every single program. There's nowhere to put me. That's why I'm teaching in humanities right now on the other side of campus and parking in my parking lot at BC, because that is physically the only place that they could find me space. And I said, if you found me a bigger space, I'd take on more. And that's just, so I think it's ironic, like, great, yes, I'll bring it back. You have nowhere to put me. So this, like, you're talking to both sides of your mouth. It's very frustrating.
Traditionally, the research methods course that I teach requires a computer. That's why I moved the lab completely synchronous online.
Sure.
The problem is, if I were to try to bring that back to the campus, I couldn't possibly meet productivity to add above my cap simply because there is no physical space. That's one of the challenges that we have. We do fine, but I'm also struggling to do weekly group work every day.
Yeah.
And that means I've gone from 5 groups to 8 groups. That's a lot to do on Zoom.
Yeah.
Let's have Tara with a follow. Seemed like she had a direct follow-up, and then Ben.
Yeah, this is a perennial problem. So we have very few spaces that will hold of like 40 people, yeah, comfortably, like WCC building. I somehow have managed to get 49 students in a classroom in there, but let's not tell the fire department. I will say, A160 is being really underutilized. If you're interested, I teach about all the time. It's 95, but anyway, just saying. Very few people are using it because it was recently remodeled. Not everybody knows it's back. Just saying.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
The second thing I want to just add. They actually
A160?
filled up the big hole in the back of the room. It's great. No more rats coming through. Oh, it's awesome. I, like you, Laura, will go well above my class cap in the core. I will teach 130 people. But I want to really, really stress something. You and I can do this.
Right.
Because we have a skill set for it.
Sure.
Maybe we even like it.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm not gonna put that kind of onus on another colleague in my department and say, you now somehow have to be able to do it just because I could do it. That's actually a little insulting. Kind of takes away from our own like abilities to do this.
1,000%.
It's not for everyone. And so what is in the course outline of record is what makes sense pedagogically for the broadest number of people and for students. Would it work better for me to have a smaller class? Well, they would get more of my time, that is true. But like you, I've developed over my many years of teaching some pretty useful techniques for being able to teach large classes. But that's also how I cut my teeth, right? Like, taught at the UCs before this, I taught at Stanford before this, like, I'm used to it, but not everybody is. So I'm gonna really stress making that distinction between what's in the course outline of record versus what you end up scheduling it for. Because there's where that flexibility comes on the skill set and what's going on in that instructor's life.
Yes.
In that particular term.
Yes.
Right? Some of us are nuts. I'm gonna get personal for a moment.
Yeah.
But I was battling cancer last semester and I still taught my full load. I still taught classes with over 100 people in them, mainly because I used it as a distraction. But would I expect my colleagues to necessarily do that? No, I wouldn't, right? Some folks just had babies, right? You have to keep that flexibility there for scheduling based on the fact that we are human beings. Right, so I'm gonna really stress to keep that distinction. But he wants
You have to close this up, please.
I wanted to go back to kind of what Stephanie had said earlier about the interconnectivity and the web of it all, because I think that, you know, we do have to look at diagnostically, like, what is our pedagogy telling us and what works best, you know, because Barbara has her students and they're doing something, and Katie's has, you know what I mean? And the idea that we're just like applying these templates to things that don't, you know, that doesn't make sense. And then going to like kind of what Danielle said about the classes that, why are they taking, your history class? I mean, are all these people being majors and going over to UCSB, or are they like trying to fill their GEs, right? So they're doing their GEs. So yeah, it makes sense to make things easy and fittable into a schedule that they need a Barbara in person, or they need a Katie in person, or what have you. But I think also, there's so much of a silo in the departments and stuff. And I think that it's really important that we look back to the past year where people raised their caps. Because I can remember at Cornelia at the meeting that emergency meeting we had, I don't know, was it last spring? When we met over here? Yeah, I don't know. It's all a blur. But, and I remember it was either Kim or Cornelia said, like, if we raise our caps, that's going to be the new thing. And then it's going to be 5 more and 5 more after that. And I think that we need to look back at this past year of what your department did and what we were actually doing above expectation and what we were doing above pedagogy and the good of the students and student success and retention and all those things. Because, I can hear what Betsy's saying and I can hear what Tara is saying, and they're different things. And I think we need to track that. We need to find, get some raw numbers of how much extra work are we actually doing? Because nobody seems to know that collectively, and the board doesn't know. And even in this room, hearing your individual experiences, I don't know. So I just think it's really important that somehow the deans, get that data and bring it in, and we can put it into, or give Keller some more things. However it works, because I think it's just really being ignored. I know over a non-credit that I take everybody. Yes, my answer is always yes for everything. But if I didn't have a TA doing all my little tasks, I couldn't get anything done. I do. I have a TA. Yes, she's great, and I can give her anything. I do.
Yeah. How'd you get that?
I don't know, just God, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, it's
not good.
We have a 5-minute meeting here too.
Okay, well, anyway, that was all I was gonna say, but there's so much extra work that goes on. I can't, my husband will not let me work for free anymore. That's what he told me. He's like, either that or you gotta quit your job. And I don't think that we should be working for free.
Everyone, we can re-agendize this to continue the discussion. Remember, February 19 is the next board meeting. Next steps, however, premature until we actually hear from the president's office what the status of these hires are. In anticipation of that, if I can draw your attention to this one link, I decided over the break to get started on a draft resolution in support of these positions. I would appreciate your input on this. All of you have commenter rights. If you recall, at the end of our December 10 meeting, it was Kathy O'Connor who suggested we need to put together a resolution in support of these 6 higher positions. So I would appreciate it if you would take a look at this to see if there are things that you would like to add in. I made sure also on the resolved comments that we also do not lose sight of administration of justice, which we also put forward as an emergency hire request as well. So I wanted to make sure to circle back to that. The message, however, for this one is, however, that when it comes to replacing faculty, it is not a discretionary process. It is foundational to what we do. We do not simply let any of these positions and these departments passively die off. We do have our own process via PEC about how to modify or discontinue. So those are the things that I would like to emphasize in this draft. Again, this is a very preliminary draft. I could use your comments on this one. Forgive me for the lightning round here. With regard to our next discussion item, some of you may have seen as of January 8th, there was a memo that was put out about BP AP 7210, enforcing the requirement to be on campus. That memo was something that was discussed with the FA negotiating team in December. There was input that the FA did offer that did not make it into the memo that Dan sent out. If you would look at the disclaimer too, the initial draft said that the FA was given a chance to be able to look at this and to be able to provide input. The draft that actually went out to the campus said that the academic senate was given an opportunity to provide input. We did not. I sent an email to Dan during the break to say, please excise this from the disclaimer, resend it for the benefit of those faculty who may have missed it on during break. He did not respond to me until yesterday, I believe. For which I said again, the remedy for this is very straightforward. Please come to the Senate, resend this, excise the statement that the academic senate was given an opportunity to provide input on this one. And I think it's good for us to have some follow-up discussions on this because the actual implementation itself, what we mean by being on campus 3 days, 2 days a week, maybe there is some latitude for us to say, maybe you don't want to define that, but talk about it we must. So I'm waiting on Dan's response. I'm hoping that he will join us as well, and I invited him to future Senate meetings to also say, we need to discuss this, please.
So the first thing was what he sent, right? The second thing he did not send.
No, this is, and
I'm confused.
And just wanted to make sure, this was a very preliminary draft that Keller shared with us at the chairs meeting. It is just a draft. So I'm saying, you walked into this. So I just wanted to take.
The first link, I have the same question. The first link in the.
That was
agenda
what was sent to
Was what
us.
was sent.
This is what was sent, yes.
Yes.
And again, it does, the Faculty Association and Academic Senate have been informed about the responsibility to enforce our policies, and we're given the opportunity to provide input. But on the memo itself, there are bound to be questions about the enforceability for this from the faculty. They need to talk with us. Also, so that we can communicate to our fellow colleagues as well. But I do not appreciate that there is some kind of de facto consent that is offered on behalf of the Senate.
And nothing on the draft. We haven't had any input on that draft.
I don't have access to the draft of the memos.
Well, no.
Oh, you mean
Communication and guidance,
So that's my second question. The second link, the one you just did the draft, who composed that?
So this was presented at
the dean.
chair meeting.
I can answer
that. The VP.
Keller. I can answer that.
Yes, please.
This was a draft that I worked on with the deans and brought to department chairs meeting.
Okay.
The intent was, hey, can y'all give us some input here? And it did not go down that way.
So continuing conversation.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, my intention here was to say, okay, please acknowledge again, I've just stepped into the poor Kel. My intention is to say, we are not going to get perfection immediately. The only way we can actually be reasonable about how we might address it is in responsible, collegial, collaborative, and I do mean this genuinely with all of you, schedule build. And also, there's I actually, Josh, if you wouldn't mind, I will add something to your next discussion when you actually talk about this that will provide some additional nuance. My intention here was, let's don't look at this as an fiat. Let's don't look at this as a authoritarian, I think the word that you all, right, yeah. So there's clearly a lot to be talked about.
Thank you so much, Keller. Again,
That's great.
to be continued.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to leave it for this matter on campus presence. The other one that I want to put on your radar, folks, following one complaint from a faculty member with regard to approval of a sabbatical proposal. I would like to revisit AP 7341. It seems that there were criteria for approving this at the dean's level that were not followed. This was an issue with regard to personnel. Do you have someone to fill in for that full-time faculty member? Not a question of the actual modality by which that person will teach. That is a scheduling issue, not a personnel issue. I would like to revisit AP 7341 to include language that says any proposed deviation from the actual criteria for approving a sabbatical proposal that needs to be run by the academic senate leadership. It's a small thing that I want to be able to include, to be able to address this as well. And lastly, your thinking cap. Just to assure you, from the academic calendar work group, it's 2 academic calendars that we will be planning. This will revisit what faculty input is on what the start date is for the spring for each of those respective years moving forward. Last year, we put out a survey to collect some feedback from the faculty. I think that we need to issue one again to be able to get some feedback. We can expect that the calendar work group will be convening again as well to be able to take whatever feedback. Cornelia and Vanessa Algin and I will try to bring that to the work group too. So some of these you will see revisited as well as AP 5550 on academic integrity, another one on intellectual property as well, given that students are sometimes submitting our own personal, our own intellectual property to AIs, but that could also bound back on us because if we are submitting to AI detectors, that could be considered also a breach of student privacy on their authorship. And then suggestions for academic freedom, it's a board policy. The board is interested in us trying to offer some suggestions moving forward on how to firm up the faculty's role in matters of academic freedom.
Can you remind me, have we gotten, I know AP was working at least on 5550, but they weren't able to do it till late in the semester. Do we have anything from them?
So no, we don't.
No, we don't.
That's why I wanted to
Okay, got
include
it.
some of the drafts that I put in, all of them have suggested language. That's
Okay.
why I want to revisit these at the next Senate meeting,
Okay,
maybe dig into some of the wording as well.
okay.
Laura.
Josh, for 8.5, is there any way we could put the calendar for whatever we're gonna talk about, like next meeting? Can we put it at the top so it really gets covered?
Certainly,
I would request that. Thank you.
no problem. All right, folks, lots of weighty discussion. Do we have a motion to adjourn for today? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No discussion on adjourning.
Can I ask one question?
Thank you, everyone.
If he was happy, at least on me to figure it
I think that's what.
For those of you on Zoom land, thank you, Dee, thank you us as well.
Would have to be for them to get out.
Like this. Clouding it. This one, they gave up on that? They don't have. Read all of what?
But okay.
What's that? Well, if that's but be like hiring. Like, I saw something on there. You have to download it every
Thank you.
Here. Like, your mission. Your receptionist. Offering a badge.
We're all in it together and there's, yeah, it's a good month. Yeah, and I think more people like that. And